Hello there, and welcome to this video for transferring a domain into AWS. My name is Anthony, and I'm going to be taking you through this. So the first thing we're going to do is just log in to AWS, which should come up automatically here. I'm using Firefox with containers. It's a brilliant facility for AWS if you've got multiple accounts, because you can have a container for each account, so you don't have to keep logging off and logging back on, or have multiple Google profiles, which is how I used to do it. So there's a little tip there. Anyway, crack on with what we're actually here for. So what we're going to do, I've got a test domain which is called securebubble.xyz. And we're going to transfer the whole domain basically into my AWS account. So at the moment it is hosted in a company called 123reg, which is a UK hosting company, but it doesn't matter who it's with basically. The crucial thing is it's been 60 days since I registered it, which is one of the limitations that most hosting companies will put in. So it stops you basically buying a domain really cheap and then instantly transferring it out to another provider. So that's happened. So the first thing I need to do is create a hosted zone within AWS for this new domain. So it's called securebubble.xyz. It's a public hosted zone. We can have tags and stuff like that if you want to. You can have a description if you want to as well, but I'm just going to do that for now since this is just a test. I'm not too bothered about those things. And then that's going to give us some name servers here. And what we will do, because there's two things you can do basically. You can either transfer your DNS management to AWS and leave kind of the registration at the current provider, in which case you need these name servers to do that. And then within 123reg, basically, I could go to the change name servers option and add those here, update, and then that would basically mean that I could do all my DNS management from AWS, but the registration would stay here. I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually going to transfer the whole domain across so that it's all within AWS, and I'll get billed from AWS and basically consolidate all my billing to one provider. So what I need to do that is to replicate any entries that I've got so that when it comes across, basically anything that was previously working is still working. Now I've got a number of entries here. I happen to know that these are all old stuff because this is just a test domain, so I'm not too bothered about these. So in actual fact, I'm not going to bother taking any of that across. I don't use it for email, so they're just default MX records that 123 have put in. And these are some old things that I was messing about with. So we don't actually need to do that. But if you are using the domain, make sure that you copy any relevant DNS entries to the hosted zone within Active Directory. And you can do that either manually, or you can do an import of the zone and an export of the zone here. It's probably fairly out of look. I'm sure there's a way that I could export this out of the 123, but I'm not going into detail of that because this is just the basic transfer. So that's fine. So we're all good on that front. So the other thing we need to do is go back to the management page, the main management page of the DNS. Now, contact details, I'm not going to go into that because it will give away kind of all my personal details, but make sure that the contact details are up to date, especially the email address, because that is the main method by which they will transfer your domain. So make sure your email address that's associated with this domain is up to date, so that you can get that working properly. I've checked that, that's all fine for me. There may be something called domain locking. This is available within some providers. So if they've got domain locking, you need to switch it off so that you can transfer the domain across. So we've done that. And then the last thing we do is this step here, which is request an auth code. Now there's different methods for different types of domain. This is a .xyz, so I just request an auth code and then I can go in and do this. If you're doing a .co.uk, I know there is a different process where you actually have to register with the ICANN provider, the fact that you're transferring it to AWS. That's outlined in an AWS guide, and I'll put that into the description. I don't really know about other domains. I think .com is an auth code, and yeah, those are kind of the main ones I've dealt with. So I don't. There might basically, if you've got a top level domain, just check what the process is. But most of them use this method. So we're going to request this auth code. There we go. So that's there. So we just need this. It's very small, isn't it? Let's just zoom in there. Come on. You'd think they'd make this easy to copy paste, wouldn't you? But no. Okay. I guess they don't want to make it too easy for me to go away from them. So we get this auth code, and then we will go into the registered domains section within Route 53. And we are going to transfer a domain. So let's click on that. And here we're going to choose the domain that we're going to transfer, which is .xyz. So it's going to cost me $12. That's okay. Oh, no, that's the auth code, isn't it? Hang on. Let's just put secure bubble in there. So securebubble.xyz. So we're going to check that and make sure that it's going to allow us to transfer. There we go, and it's saying it can do that. So the website might become unavailable. So this is quite important, obviously. If you're hosting a live website, you need to really think about whether you do this or whether you just transfer the name servers and the registration so that you can manage it in AWS until you can kind of do a managed outage. So if you've got any websites running on this domain, as it says, it might become available up to 2 days. It probably won't take that long, but it's just something to bear in mind. Don't say I didn't warn you. So add to cart. There we go. So that's going to cost me $12. So I'm going to continue. And then now it's going to ask me for that authorization code. So I type that in here. And I'm going to say import the name servers from the Route 53 hosted zone that has the same name, because basically as soon as I've transferred it away from 123, those name servers, they're not going to let me carry on using that because I'm not paying them any money. So we need to make sure that we import them from this hosted zone that we've set up, and then it will use Amazon's name servers on the internet rather than 123reg. So there we go, we've got that there, and we'll do continue. And then it's going to ask me for my details, so whether I'm a company, person, or association. So this is just a test system, so I'm just going to keep my my details as is. Actually, no, I will put it as my company, thinking about it. And I'm just going to pause the video here whilst I get these details put in. All right, so just to come back now, so I put in the details. One thing I would mention is, although you can technically change details when you're transferring from one provider to another, I'd recommend not doing it then. I'd recommend transferring with the same details as your old provider, and then ensuring, and then basically once it's all done, you can change the details afterwards. It's just because it just makes the whole process easier if the details are the same. They don't think someone's trying to steal the domain or something like that. So that's what I'd recommend doing. And you can see here I've got the authorization code. These are the new name servers that's going to be enabled. I've ticked it to enable automatically renew my domain, and I've accepted the terms and conditions, and that's it. So I'm just going to press complete order now, and then that should go through. So, and here we are. So the order is being processed. It might take a little while for my payment to be debited, blah, blah, blah. So that's it. We close that. And we should see now under pending requests, there we go, it's in progress. So what I'm going to wait for now is basically an email, which will come through as a check basically to make sure that I actually did the request. Sometimes they email and you have to click on a link just to confirm it. Other times they just email to say this has happened. That might well happen because of the authorization code, basically. So if you haven't had the authorization code, you wouldn't be able to do this. So yeah, once that comes through, I'll kick the video back in and show you what happens, and then I'll show you what happens when it's all transferred across. And then we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you in a bit.
So this is a quick update to show you what's happened on the domain transfer. So this is an email I've received from 123reg about the transfer of secure bubble XYZ. So 123reg have received my notification, and if I want to proceed, I do not need to respond to this message. If I wish to cancel, I need to contact them. But there is a link here, and it's got approvedmove.com, so that suggests that this might be something that I can do to speed the transfer up. So we'll click on here, and it's going to load up. Sometimes Google does this with me, so it is a secure site, you can see the padlock. But yeah, we've got the option here to authorize the transfer or decline the transfer, so let's authorize that. And there we go, transfer approved. So that should be it, and hopefully that will go through soon. I shall let you know. Cheers.
So very shortly after the last email, I got this email where I clicked on the authorize. So here we can see this is from AWS saying I need to verify my email address. So this is kind of the other half of the transfer now that 123 have verified that I want to transfer it. So I click on this to verify my email address, and there we go. Very simply, that's it. My email address is verified. No further action is required. And that should now carry on with the transfer. Okay. Hello again, and this is just the final part of this transfer. So it's actually been a few days, but I think I could have got this working sooner because I didn't click that link that I just showed you in the earlier part of the video until a couple of days after it arrived. So basically, I think it was about 20 minutes after I clicked that link, I got this email through to say that the transfer to Route 53 has succeeded. And if I look now in my Route 53 console, there's my hosted zone, so we know that, but I've now got one domain registered here. And oh, actually, you can see at the bottom there, I'll go back to that in a sec. But here we go, here's my secure bubble XYZ domain. It's showing as auto renew, it's showing that the is transfer lock, it's got a new expiration date now that's been put in place because of the extra money I paid basically to transfer the domain in. And yeah, that's it. So I think if we go back to that summary page, we also saw, there we go, the notification domain transfer successful. So it's all done. So that is how you transfer a domain into Route 53. If you want to do that, it's something that I tend to do even if I buy a domain outside, because I can find them cheaper to initially register outside of Route 53. They're often, the price goes right up the next year, and I just prefer to have all my billing done within AWS, and the sort of renewal price is actually quite reasonable when you transfer from dollars to pounds. So that's what I do. Obviously, it's up to you if you you do the same or not, but that's my recommendation, and that's how I've done it. So I hope that was useful to you, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.